Paladins, the champion-based shooter, recently hit 10 million owners on Steam, an epic achievement. Sure, owners doesn't completely mean current players, you have smurfs, tasters, and those missing in action, but on the flip side there are players on the separate high-res client too. Another big milestone was 1 million subscribers on their YouTube channel, plus Paladins has just gone into open beta on both PS4 and Xbox One. In short, Paladins is kind of on fire at the moment. So I thought it'd be a good time to give my top 5 reasons to play Paladins in no particular order, especially for those players that might be interested in the game or for people already playing to show their friends. Feel free to share your own top 5 lists as I go through mine in the comments section below. 1. It is 100% free, probably the most obvious and easy one to get out of the way. With open beta released on PS4 and Xbox One, you no longer have to find a code on a magazine site or buy the Founders Pack, which did seem to confuse a lot of people. It's a hell of a lot of game for free, and hey, if you have a decent net speed and no data limits, why not give it a shot? 2. The game has a good form, and what do I mean by this? Well, it strikes a good balance between MOBA and arena shooter genres. You have all the intense action, mechanical aim, and movement of a 3D arena shooter, mixed with the customization, progression, and economy of a MOBA, with an item shop in-game with gold earned being tied exclusively to player versus player and objective performance, meaning there is no long grind or farm during a match, but the game still evolves with how people pick or counter-pick items. These items are more simple than a MOBA, and the champion deck customizations allow for the bigger variation in playstyle before the match and can often change drastically how a champion plays. Finally, there are a group of these Twitch shooter champions with pistols, guns, and rocket launchers, but also we have a wide skill set and the existence of frontliners and supports that are also healers and crowd controllers, and more of what you'd expect in a MOBA game relying on skill timings and positioning more than pure aim. 3. Content releases are hard and fast, with something new being released every 2 weeks in their current patch cycle. On average, pretty much every 3 weeks there is currently a new champion, with there being back-to-back champion patches, then some that come in 2 of these cycles. So far there are 26 champions in the realm, but there are already 4 leaked prototypes that are going to make it to us sooner than later. New maps, game modes, and general gameplay tweaks are also seen in these patches too, and something to shake up or tighten the meta usually happens every time one drops. What this means is the game is constantly kept fresh by new faces, mechanics, and meta lineups. 4. It is extremely easy to run and run well. The game took a stylized approach to the graphics and still looks great, and whilst there is the occasional hiccup with performance that needs to be ironed out in a patch, the game can be run well on most PCs, even potatoes. There was also a Digital Foundry video on how it runs on maximum settings on all versions of Xbox One and PS4s with 60 FPS, plus native genuine 4K on PS4 Pro. There's apparently also some resolution scaling on Xbox and PS4 4K, but hardly noticeable and happens for those short big player clump ups. In short, pretty much everyone is going to be able to run it, and probably decently. 5. The game doesn't expect you to commit all your time to it. Each game isn't too long, yet is action-packed, has lots of strategy, and ultimately takes teamwork to win. At the end of the day, you can get a lot of the same competitive fulfillment a lot of other MOBAs and shooters give in a much smaller and concentrated space of time. The most common game mode called Siege takes on average anywhere from 7 minutes for a very short game to 20 odd minutes for a long game. There are exceptions, but compared to a MOBA, that could be 20 minutes for a very short game to well over an hour for a long game, and compared to, say, a competitive game of CSGO, you're looking at a very similar time commitment. Paladins is definitely a game you can pick up for a short match or 2 and feel fulfilled and come back another day if time isn't on your side. Obviously, if you do have all the time in the world, you might have much longer sessions, and I personally am sitting at that 639 hours mark. So I am one of those that keeps rolling onto the next game, and that's also an option too. Anyway, those were my top 5 reasons to play Paladins. Now, it was actually quite difficult for me as someone who's played so much of the game to pick out what was special about it because it's so familiar to me now. I'd also like to take a moment to address something a lot of people new to seeing the game will think. Is it just like Overwatch? Well, going back to point 2, it does share a lot of similarities with OW, but if there was an imaginary sliding scale of MOBA to shooter genre, Paladins would be slid further towards that MOBA side. More emphasis is put on the customization of character during and before the game. Both games do have these sort of champions or heroes in MOBAs with skills, but in my opinion, normal abilities are more important in Paladins, whereas Overwatch ultimates are often what breaks you through a lot of the stalemates, as matches focus on movement being the progression of the map, following a payload or separate capture points, with focus zones and forward spawns. I do think you can play both. I personally take Paladins pretty seriously, but play Overwatch to cool off. Just thought that was worth mentioning. Again, what would your top 5 be to give to prospective new players if you were to make a list? And if you were someone new to the game, what did you think of this list? Be sure to let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe for more of my content, and I'll see you all next time. Thank you all very much for watching.